Hi everyone, my name is Ineza, and before I start, I would like you to picture some of the traits of a classic American high school life, be it from a television show or rom-com Hollywood teen movie. I'll give you an example. Captain of the football team is a hot, popular cheerleader. They fall in love and form a relationship. What else? Here's what came to my mind. Riverdale. It checks off all the boxes of how different genders and characters are typically brought on screen with lust, drama, and stereotypes that have been systematically portrayed in the media. Riverdale is a Netflix original series based on the Archie comics that have been reinvented to suit the modern tastes of young adults and teenagers. The show centers the life of 5 main characters and their life as students at Riverdale High, where they face common teen drama and slight supernatural situations. It's rated M18, even despite the fact that these characters play the roles of ages 16 to 18. Since the series was aired, it harnessed a magnitude of criticism on the way these adolescent characters are being narrated and characterized. From wardrobe choices to erotic scenes and sexual acts, it has displayed traits of hyper-sexualization of these teenagers. The season kicks off with a build-up of a sexual relationship that develops over time with one of the protagonists, Archie, and his high school music teacher, Miss Grundy.
Miss Grundy? Hey.
This plot highlights the start of Riverdale's problematic nature with its gender representation and hypersexualization.
Do you want to ride?
Now, by extracting some key themes from an article written by Lem on polarized discourses of female sexualization through a case study of Miley Cyrus' sexualized figure, I aim to link this reading to some of Riverdale's tendency on displaying similar attributes. The author provided an insightful look into hypersexualization that was a result of media influence. Guided by feminist theories, the study firstly dives into the way females are self-sexualized through displayed empowerment. Here I quote, "Girls who mimic this kind of performances that suggests empowerment may indeed feel more empowered." This heavily relates to the irony of Riverdale's display of female power through qualities that the main female character displays of confidence, freedom, and fearlessness. However, as Riverdale's characters constantly exhibits sexualized and erotic acts, this then gets contradicted. As Gill argues, there is an almost compulsory expectation that one sexualize oneself by embodying these qualities, which young female viewers are exposed to. Next, the notion of childhood innocence as a sexualized entity discussed in the article is exemplified in Riverdale. In the analysis, Lem writes that the handlers of Miley Cyrus may have been well aware that the singer, as an adolescent, was representing a position between childhood and adult sexuality. Similarly, Riverdale handlers have narrated them as high schoolers, which maintains teenhood innocence, also presenting adult sexuality. This allows the countering valuing of protecting child innocence to exist alongside their sexualization and commodification, as written by Girax. So, what this recognizes is that it could ultimately push young audiences into thinking that this is allowed and is a norm to do so. Thirdly, results of the research draws into the discourses amongst viewers after the sexualized performance by Miley Cyrus, which shows similar pointers on the media about Riverdale. To sum it all up, the comments on Miley Cyrus inferred that part of the choices made were a result of her growing up and showing her sexuality. This relation is problematic as TV shows like Riverdale reinforces that idea, that going to high school is growing up and sexualizing oneself is part of that process. It constructs adolescents as neoliberal subjects that are decontextualized from mainstream media that shape their choices and undermines their autonomy. What this research should have also added is Kaufman's Code of Gender Infantilization. It unmentionably links to the idea that the association between women being portrayed as little girls and sexualized figures are separated by a thin line in which the media should resist against.
Once your mommy picks you ice cream.
An example of that is the Star Wars film, The Last Jedi. In 2018, YouTuber Macintosh explores the film as a subversion of audience expectations that analyzes its characters' traits that twist envisioned norms of gender representations. For example, men characters in action films are expected to be decisive, righteous, respected, and to take charge in situations. This, the author describes, is a formula so entrenched in media that viewers may feel entitled to satisfy and fulfill their expectations on screens. As a result of The Last Jedi not satisfying that expectations, fans, mostly male, felt betrayed and personally disrespected by the movie, pinning Disney for forcing feminist propagandas. This reaction itself tells us a lot about how the media has succeeded in determining gender roles and behavior. As the author narrows down on each climax, he recognizes the efforts the film has made to refresh the established structures of gender representations in mainstream cinema. The lead female character, Rose, had a role of a moral compass to the male characters who were pushed to lower their ego and masculinity, which landed her the big heroic moment. The author, in my opinion, did an amazing perceptive study of how the film allowed female characters to be in positions of institutional power and moral authority. It is indeed empowering to see a female, person of color especially, being devoted to heroic arcs that resist the biased representations we see in movies. On the contrary, Riverdale lacks diversity in terms of body images, race, and abilities, which neglects the complexity of female empowerment. It is important to note that empowerment is earned differently from our intersecting society. Despite the attempts in Riverdale at intersectional feminism, the efforts scene loses its momentum to a complete halt, with the only people of color getting either written off or mansplained by a generic white straight character. So, it all goes without saying that television has significantly influenced audiences, especially young adolescents' perceptions in school environments. It romanticizes, exaggerates, and even invokes unrealistic behaviors when it comes to gender portrayal and sexualization. These stereotypes and gender representations might ultimately frame audiences' mindset where it could mimic into actions that might encourage over-sexualizations amongst youths or worse, minors. While it is clear that television pushes the way high school is framed, what comes after? First, will adolescents conform to the stereotypes when being exposed to television shows such as Riverdale? Secondly, what further harm do you think could bring to all genders when television chooses to fantasize over sexualization, normalize and promote the idea that what is displayed is healthy? And what other reasons do you think American high school television shows and movies continue to do so even when raging comments about the repercussions to such representations have constantly been voiced out on platforms? Well, my hope is for television shows like Riverdale to combat gender inequality, hyper-sexualizations of female characters, and to bring realistic portrayals on screens. Thank you for listening!